Let's start with the money. Back in 2009, the Environment Agency estimated that Britain would need to continually increase the amount that it spends on flood defences. Without more money, it warned that increasing numbers of houses would be at risk from flooding in the coming decades. Under the coalition, the amount of cash spent on flood defence fell from £670 to £606 million. Last week, the government pledged a further £100 million in cash for next year, taking the total back up to £715 million. Even so, flood spending is still down on 2010 once you take inflation into account. Last year, a committee of MPs said cuts in funding had led to a failure to maintain defences and watercourses effectively. So is it for a lack of money that a swathe of England is underwater? Or perhaps it is because, as another group of MPs warned, no one body is clearly in charge of holding back the water. Responsibility for flood defence is complicated. Take the Somerset Levels. Flooding there is the responsibility of the Environment Agency. Oh, and Sedgemoor District Council. And Taunton Deane District Council. And South Somerset District Council. And Somerset County Council, Natural England, and the local Internal Drainage Board. Tricky, huh? Most of the public bile there has been focused on dredging, clearing out rivers so that they flow faster.
Paul Smith, can I just get your impressions of this?
Officials brave enough to venture there have been berated for ignoring this common-sense solution. But would dredging have made any difference in a year as dramatically wet as this?
You need a force to drive the water out of the river or off the floodplains, and you don't really have that in Somerset Levels. I mean, basically, if you look at my hand now, it's horizontal. That's the problem you have, and then at the end you have the tide going up and down. But basically you've got a horizontal water surface slope, so you've got no force pushing the water out. So you have to think about what is the solution for that, because if you think about it, for example, Cardiff Bay, in my doorstep here, you have a horizontal water level in Cardiff Bay, and if you dredge down to some considerable depth in Cardiff Bay, it wouldn't fundamentally make a lot of difference.
So, if not dredging, what is the answer? The Bridgewater Bay Lagoon might just be the best idea we have to keep Somerset dry in future. A vast barrier into the sea, like this similar scheme for Swansea. It would look good, it would generate vast amounts of electricity. Oh, and it would cost £18 billion. There's no need to be defeatist about flooding. Big projects like the Thames Barrier show that if we really care about an area, we can keep it safe. But big projects cost big money. The real question is whether the rest of Britain cares enough to save Somerset. In truth, the argument is not about dredging. It's not about funding from one year to the next. It's not about the shape of a bureaucracy. It's about priorities. If you don't want to surrender low-lying homes to the water, you need massive, expensive, long-term plans.